Right, and we should now be live straight away. I'm getting started with it straight away because I want to try to finish this game tonight, and I don't know how much longer I have of this game, so we're just going to get started straight away. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the usual Friday Triclaw stream. I need to figure out what I'm doing. Okay, so how do I get there? Oh no, I think that's the wrong one. Oh, open the door. Nicholas, no, I haven't, not yet. I have had this asked of me several times. I don't want to give... I cannot stand these streaming companies, you know. I don't want to give over my details or money to Netflix, so, until I get a different opportunity to watch it... Hang on, what? I have no ammo? Oh my lord, I am totally out of ammunition. How has that happened? Yeah, so until I can watch it either because someone has recorded the episodes... Oh, crap. Run! Didn't there used to be a dead T-Rex around here somewhere? the T-Rex has disappeared. I need to go via the save room. Yeah, so until someone either records it and I watch it there, or I watch it through with someone else who has... I ran the wrong way. Who has Netflix? That's the only way I'll be watching it. I just don't want to give Netflix money, basically, or my data, for that matter. I don't have enough plugs. And this has literally just got... Well, at least I've got some bloody darts now. Better than nothing, I guess. Oh no, 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 no. Hello, Brenson. Where am I supposed to go from here? Can I actually view the room down below? Yeah, but I want to operate it. I know it's not necessary to operate it, but I want to be able to operate it so I can see down there. I'm okay, Chad. How are you doing? Okay, so I have to go down this ladder and around and into the... I am so screwed. No, get up. Get up. The fact you can't get up from that position, that you just lay there, like, that bugs me, actually. Yes, Chad, we do have a release date, but what we don't have is an explanation of where it's going to... Get up! Are you telling me I can only take one hit at the moment? I guess I must be low on health. Yes, we still don't know how the UK or the rest of Europe is going to be able to watch it, because obviously we can't get either of those services, so... It says it's not necessary. So are you telling me I have one hit from these guys? Until they tell us what it's going to be on, which I think is pretty bad of Tim Haynes, actually, considering he worked for the BBC. The fact he's... What? Why is this room reset? Hang on a minute, that room has reset. Because if you look at the map, you're supposed to go... Oh. I'm being a clot. Why did... Okay, it really bugs me that's an instant kill, that you can't get out of that situation. They're supposed to be this game's version of Therizinosaurus. Oh, at least we ran into the right room in the end.
You got your man, Gale.
You're not one to forget a grudge, are you?
Come on, let's go.
Regina, take this.
The disc?
It contains all the information on the third energy, including the details on how to use it as a weapon.
Well, you have to remember, Chad, at this point in
Once we
time,
deliver
we
this
didn't
disc
have
to
very
our
much of
government,
Therizinosaurus
our
at
real
all.
mission will be complete.
We didn't know what it looked like, so...
Just as I suspected.
What do you mean, our real mission? Our mission
Just
is
as
to
I
get back to
suspect.
Dr. Kirk.
That was the official lie they fed you. Your boss only wanted the data from the very beginning.
So it was a whole plot going
Don't you
on.
get it?
I knew it.
It's so obvious. The government doesn't want me. They want the third energy. They want this weapon all to themselves.
Then this whole mission was a front from the very beginning.
Our government knew that Kirk's project had to be some type of weapon. I mean, just think about it. A stage.
Not much of a twist. I saw it coming a mile off.
Political asylum. A secret non-weapon project at a hidden military base. And you know how this country has always been famous for developing new weapons in secret. Our government knew that there was a new weapon, and they wanted it. Our real mission was to ascertain all information on the weapon so that only our country can exploit it. Dr. Kirk's just a bonus.
I can't believe it.
Ha! You naively called me a devil before. But if you think about it, you know who the true devil is.
I don't understand, Gale. Why didn't you tell us?
I can only guess that the two of you were too clean to be trusted by the top brass.
And what about you?
I didn't want to put either of you in danger. What you didn't know couldn't hurt you.
This has all been quite enlightening, but can we go now?
You're right. Let's go, Gale.
Oh, he's dead. Can we take his gun then?
And this is the reward for a lifetime of service to the government. Sad, isn't it?
Let's go.
Deserved. This must be the last stages.
Where's Gale? Let's go then.
Why do I have to go on my own? Oh, hello. What's this? It's a multiplier. The T-Rex is dead? T-Rex is faking, surely. Hang on a minute, what was that? There's a code on the panel on the wall, but there's no code to put into it. Was ist das? A recovery aid. Okay. I get the impression the T-Rex is going to be chasing us. I knew it. Oh.
He's back! I was beginning to miss our reptilian grouping.
Shut up and steer. I'm gonna take care of this once and for all.
Here, take this with you, and be careful.
Oh, hello. It's a plug. Here he's keep be coming. Stay away from me, Rexy. What's he? Did we get it?
Well, that's that. Game over, folks.
After this mission, I don't think I'll ever be able to look at a croc skin bag the same way.
Oh, Rexy.
Oh!
Regina, what are you doing?
End of the line for you, handsome. You're extinct!
That's the worst. That's the worst line I've ever heard. It was so cheesy. So I wonder how the other ending goes then. Oh, we have to sit through the credit sequence. You got what may have been the worst possible ending? Really? One thing's for certain, this certainly isn't the good ending. Oh. What makes it not the good ending, I wonder? Like, how is the ending... How can the ending be better? Like, we have the disc. The good ending is the helicopter pull. Oh yeah, but we didn't really want Gale to survive. I wonder how I get the helicopter ending then, because the T-Rex chomps the helicopter down. Like... Was I supposed to take the chopper out? Was I supposed to take the T-Rex out before he chomped the chopper? Because I really struggled.
You have mail. The final report of Operation Dr. Kirk. Agent name, Regina. Dr. Kirk. Status, recaptured.
We have recaptured Dr. Kirk, who is currently negotiating future experiments with the military high command.
Gale. Status, deceased.
Due to uncontrollable circumstances, Gale had to sacrifice himself in order to protect the target.
Rick. Status, alive.
Rick is currently analyzing the data that was recovered from Ibis Island.
Yeah, Nicholas. I remember that bit, but like I don't see how I could
As
have...
for myself,
Like,
I'm
the only
ready to begin my
thing I
next
could
assignment.
alter is, like, not picking to follow...
Status, deceased.
Tom was attacked and killed by a giant reptile that was inhabiting the island. He will be missed.
Cooper. Status, unknown.
We lost contact with Cooper at the beginning of the mission and have not heard from him since then.
Oh, he got eaten.
Disk. Status, recovered.
The military R&D department is currently analyzing its contents.
Mission complete.
Nine hours. Endings 1 of 3. So there's a secret path that leads to the path to another helicopter in the underground base.
Operation instructions.
Huh. You could have done more. If you would like to try again, I will give you a special gift. Interesting. You've obtained the super grenade. So we can go through the game again with, like, a slightly easier weaponry. Interesting. I'm aware there is this, like, Operation Wipeout thing to do, but I have no interest in that. I only really had interest in, like, the base game. What does this arrange game thing mean? Do you want to use the unlimited grenade launcher? Yes.
You have mail.
I assume this would just be
The
the...
second report from Military Experiment Facility. Agent name, Tom.
I assume this would just be identical.
I've successfully infiltrated under the guise of a research.
Okay, this is the first checkpoint. Playtime is officially over, kiddies.
Something's wrong. The lights in the guardhouse are out.
Maybe this has been a while.
Let me skip. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. Okay, so a range game just is like
Here, Junior.
play the game
Leave
again.
the
I
guards
guess.
to me.
Hey, did you hear what he just called me?
Forget
Non-skippable
about it. Just let
cutscenes.
Gale handle this.
All right, it's clear. Okay, let's do this. I'll infiltrate the facility and occupy the control
So I
room
guess
on the
there's
floor.
there's one ending
I should have
for
access
like
to all
doing
the security
all of
systems from
the
there. I'll contact you
Gale
as soon as I
speech
cleared the room.
options. I guess there's one for doing all of his speech options, and there must be another different one. Infinite grenades. I mean, that would certainly make future replay throughs a lot easier. That's for sure. Well, that doesn't exit back to the main menu. That's... Okay. Oh, well, I didn't think I only had about 15 minutes of the game left to go. So, and I can't get back to the main menu. Which is a bugger. So, in that case, bear with me, everyone. Let's get all the endings now. I don't think so. What I'm going to do instead is... I will... Let's do some Jurassic World Evolution 3 and we can kind of... We can talk about Dino Crisis as a game while I'm doing some JWE3. I honestly thought we had more than 15 minutes of ending. Oh well. But that's the problem with these old games. You never could tell like when the ending was going to happen. Right. I'm going to let's do this in modular build. I want to finish what I've been Shall we? Or shall we just do some like actual game, as it were? No, let's do some modular building. I can talk about Dino Crisis while I do some modular building. So yeah, let's do a sort of review, as it were, of Dino Crisis, because you know, that's what I would do with any other dinosaur game. I suppose the first question is, does Dino Crisis still hold up? No, of course not. It's obviously... It obviously badly needs a remaster, which I feel they could very easily do. I mean, that's I guess that's the one sort of surprise that I have about Dino Crisis, is that the game still hasn't been remastered, which just seems really peculiar to me. Yeah, okay, guys, I've already said I didn't realize we had less than 15 minutes to go on it. I apologize, but I wasn't aware that the ending was literally going to be a couple of rooms away. As I was saying, it does seem very odd to me that that no one has decided to remaster it. I mean, we have many dinosaur games that copy the style. We do. I think a remastered Dino Crisis would sell pretty well. I mean, I think a lot of people would be happy to see it. I guess I don't really know why they haven't done it yet. I mean, perhaps because there's a licensing problem? I don't know. But a new Dino Crisis would be cool, especially if it was done in the Unreal and with the new Resident Evil engine. So we've got like proper 3D graphics and, you know, all the rest of it. It would obviously be just so fun. And obviously, you know, update the... Well, you say that, but this is where I'm going to now go spiraling off into other conversation. I actually think I would want the remaster to keep the overall of the designs of the animals. Just make them, you know, higher definition. Like, I wouldn't want them to make the Therizinosaurus look like how we know Therizinosaurus looks like now. Because this is a game of its time, and we would lose that if they suddenly made all the dinosaurs like super accurate and stuff. Yes, the Therizinosaurus looks goofy as hell, but that's kind of... I like that. I like the fact that it looks goofy as hell. It gives it its own touch. It reminds us of a very different time in paleontology and in dinosaurs in particular. But thinking of the game as, you know, just as a game, Dino Crisis does a lot that I kind of miss. Like, one thing I do have to say that I think is really, really good is the puzzle design. This game is the first game that I've played in a very, very long time where I actually felt like the puzzles were actually puzzles. Like, they were legitimately things I had to think about in order to solve. You know, most modern video games these days, a puzzle is like, here's a key for a door. Or how do you open this door? You must go find this correct switch. But Dino Crisis, like, focused on making puzzles that look very simple, but are actually really difficult. Like, they're puzzles that you don't immediately get. You have to actually think about them. And I think that's something that modern video gaming has left behind, which I think needs to be brought back. If a game has a puzzle, I expect the the solution to require me to think, you know. A game that makes you think, yeah. I mean, it's called a puzzle, for heaven's sake. It's supposed to make you think. And I think I especially praise it for the fact that of all the puzzles we did, only one puzzle felt like it was phoning it in, and that was the puzzle that we were stuck in last stream, where it turned out you had to go and listen to some audio log and then listen to the electronic beeps that it would reveal, because that would tell you how many, what the numbers were. That I think is, you know, there was no way of knowing that was the answer to that particular problem. But that was the only one out of all the puzzles. That was the only one that did feel like it was unfair. All the rest of the puzzles felt fair. There was certainly one or two that felt annoying. The code puzzle, which didn't seem to be very well explained. Like, I suspect quite a lot of the problems I was having understanding how the code system worked is probably the translation of what was originally Japanese text to English. I suspect that was part of the problem. And that's not something that you can criticize. I mean, you know, that's just one of those things. So yeah, the puzzles were really, really good. I like the fact that most of the game is actually based on exploration. Like, a lot of the game, you're exploring different areas of the facility, looking for stuff, backpedaling to understand things. I think for a game like this, it would be too easy for them to sort of slip into the, let's just make it an action game where you go around absolutely slaughtering dinosaurs. I'm glad that it wasn't like that. That actually, if you think about it, the number of dinosaurs we encountered was not really that great. And in theory, you could probably get through the whole thing without killing a single dinosaur if you wanted to punish yourself. No worries, Aiden. If you could do a redesign of the raptors in Dino Crisis, how would you redesign them? Well, I think that's quite difficult to ask, because what you're actually, the first part of it would be, what would the Dino Crisis raptors look like if we remade them in modern graphics to start with? So I actually quite like that golden coloration they have. I think that looks really cool. The only thing I would probably do is kind of add some quills or something to the backs of the head, like the Jurassic Park 3 raptors. But I actually think the raptor design that they have in the game is actually perfectly fine as it is. Like, in terms of coloration, I like the fact that it and the Deinonychus, or the Super Raptors, are like a completely different color. I really like those purple Super Raptors. I think they're really, really awesome, actually. But yeah, I think for a game of this time to have like Therizinosaurus in it, I was actually a little bit surprised. I was not expecting to see Therizinosaurus in this game. Mostly because by the time Dino Crisis had been made, like, we had only just discovered the arm bones, so I know this is going to sound a bit weird, But I do think Dino Crisis's Therizinosaurus may have influenced Jurassic World Dominion's Therizinosaurus. There were a few similarities, which I was like, huh. And obviously, you know, that scene with the Giganotosaurus in the film is very clearly based on that shot that we had in the office. So I think it's very clear that perhaps like both Dominion's Therizino and Dino Crisis's Therizino, they're both black. They both have, if you squint a bit, the relatively the same proportions. And they're shown to both be quite aggressive. And there is, you know, just the flickerings of red on the Dino Crisis Therizino, which Dominion's Therizino also has red on it. So I do think that the Dino Crisis Therizino may have inspired the Therizino that we saw in Dominion. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. A coincidence? I think so. I've got to start taking apart all of this building. And obviously the Tyrannosaurus is, you know, the classic T-Rex, which again you can't fault them for at this time because that was how T-Rex was presented, you know. They just look up random pictures online. Yeah. Which maybe the Dino Crisis Therizino popped up. Who knows? Something else that I especially liked is the game felt very fair. In a way that some modern games occasionally don't feel fair. Like, some modern games, stuff will happen and you're like, how was I ever supposed to, like, handle that situation? Or, like, this is just, you're just wasting my time. I never felt like Dino Crisis was ever wasting my time. Like, even all the backtracking, I think that's like one thing that I think modern audiences probably would really struggle with is the persistent backtracking. But I didn't really feel like they were wasting my time with it. It felt like all the backtracking I was doing had a purpose. It wasn't just to waste my time. And to be honest, I kind of expected that we would like have to go through more backtracking than we actually had to. I was actually surprised thinking about, you know, Resident Evil and such. I was actually kind of surprised how little backtracking there actually was. When Fletcher gives a positive review for something, it means it's good. I would say Dino Crisis. I think when you're dealing with very nostalgic or nostalgia properties like Dino Crisis, I don't really think it's fair to judge them in the same way. I don't think you can judge that Dino Crisis in the same way that you would judge a remake of Dino Crisis, per se. Because I don't think you can kind of hold them to the same standards, you know. What I would say is that Dino Crisis made me nostalgic for a time that video games have forgotten. Like, it's actually quite surprising to me, thinking about it, how much story there is in this very simple dinosaur game. Like, there's actually a surprisingly large amount of story in it. And again, for a game of this time, also to have multiple endings. Like, that's a huge surprise for me. I'm like, what? This game has multiple endings? I don't think any game of this time had multiple endings. I might be wrong. I don't know what was the first game to have multiple endings, but it certainly feels unique. To me, at least. For this time period. Maybe someone could look that up. Like, what was the first official game to have multiple endings? I would actually be quite curious to know. I would certainly say it's definitely worth playing, especially if... Oh, I'm going to have to be very careful about how I say what I say here. Especially if you're, like... young? Let's say if you're in your late teens, per se. Just because I think it's worth experiencing what gaming used to be like. Like, Dino Crisis was it is a pretty standard example of what that sort of survival... I wouldn't really call it horror. I mean, at the time, it was scary. I remember when I first watched someone play Dino Crisis, it was definitely scary to me at the time. It scared me shitless. Obviously now it's rather quaint, but it's a pretty good example of what survival horror games used to be like. So I think it's worthwhile just playing, even if you're like just curious about what old gaming used to be like. Nostalgic gaming. You know, see it as an opportunity to experience the start of video gaming, when it was becoming, you know, really hyper popular. I mean, it was critically underrated for the time. Definitely. In fact, shall I see? I'm sure there's probably... let's see Wikipedia. Dino Crisis. Let's see what Dino Crisis actually reviewed like at the time. Dino Crisis 19... So it comes from 1999. Interesting. Okay, so interestingly, Capcom marketed the game as panic horror as opposed to survival horror. I definitely see that. I definitely see that in the way that the game plays. I didn't definitely see the panic horror. I totally get that. Because it did definitely stressed me out once or twice. So Dino Crisis 1 is considered a critical and commercial success. But many of the negative reviews criticized it for feeling too much like Resident Evil with dinosaurs. It was a bestseller in Japan, achieving 300,000 sales in Japan in its first week. And the PlayStation version ultimately sold 2.4 million copies worldwide. Critics praised the action and intensity of the game, heightened by real-time engine and soundtrack. IGN described the game as vicious and flesh-tearing with fright. Real-time graphics were generally liked, with critics describing them as sharp, sterile, and clean. The dinosaurs were a consistent point of discussion amongst the critics. GamePro found the dinosaurs imbued with an excellent AI that keeps the action fresh and exciting, although some found the variety of dinosaurs to be lacking. Despite the game being 90% raptors, which IGN found not as scary as the monsters from Resident Evil, they found the dinosaur sound effects to be well done. Oh, here we go. So, Game Revolution had a much more critical review of Dino Crisis than others, saying, the game expanded on the worst elements of Resident Evil, while ruining the good elements. They were impressed by the graphics, but thought the environments looked too similar and got boring after a short time. Overall, they believed the game to be worse than Resident Evil 2, pointing out the game's shorter length, more tedious puzzles, weaker action, and lesser scare factor. That's really interesting. That really goes to show you, like, how weirdly different things were back then. That, you know, they called the puzzles tedious, and I've just said the puzzles are the best bit. That really highlights quite a big disparity in how modern gaming has gone. I feel it's like, I actually wish that modern gaming had these puzzles that they called tedious. That's almost funny in a really bizarre way. Yeah, I mean, the game clearly, you know, had its fans and was relatively popular. So I think we could say that it wasn't a critical failure, but it definitely didn't seem to be as well received as, say, Resident Evil or something like that. Which I guess makes sense though. Like it is funny thinking about it. Like whenever I have to describe Dino Crisis to somebody who's never played the game before, what I inevitably end up saying is it's Resident Evil but with dinosaurs. And maybe that's unfair to it, thinking about it. Maybe it is not Resident Evil with dinosaurs. Maybe it deserves a reappraisal of that. This trim and that trim are going to be a pain in the backside. I think if I was to criticize anything, it would probably be the pretty dreadful movement mechanics. But I don't blame the game for how those movement mechanics turned out. But those tank controls are pretty terrible, I have to say. Tank movement controls are awful. They always have been. I feel like we just need a piece of metal over this. And that will do fine. Yes, the tank driving mechanics to move around definitely takes some getting used to. It's probably the bit that would take the most getting used to if you were like just starting out with the game. Because you basically have to unlearn everything you thought about how to move a character in a video game. And that's obviously going to take a fair amount of getting used to. But I think once you do get used to it, I think it becomes quite intuitive. You just run forwards. Just press up to go forwards. That's all you have to remember. It's just so easy to forget that when you're like running away from the dinosaur of the moment. I think the music is fairly poor. Like, if I was going to be like my usual critical self, I do think the music's not very good. They could have definitely done better with that. And there were some of the like some of the rooms, corridors, like some of how the like camera positions were organized. Like, you know what I mean? The where the static cameras were positioned, some of them did seem a bit like badly placed. There were one or two where I was like, for heaven's sake, why is this camera placed in such a way that gives me such a rotten view? And I know that's probably, again, that's like part of the charm of the game, is those sort of badly positioned Resident Evil style cameras. That's supposed to be in line with that. That's also in line with that. So these, I think I've given them too much of a lip. It just feels like not enough of one there. Sorry, I'm just trying to get everything to fit together properly. So yeah, I think the music's bad. I think some of the camera angles were bad. The choice of, like, firepower seems fairly limited. I know that sounds a bit bizarre when I've just praised the fact that the game wasn't like a shoot everything you see simulator. But it definitely feels like I would have liked to have an additional gun. I feel like I was definitely missing like a machine gun or something. The grenade launcher was fine, the pistol was fine, the shotgun was fine, but I definitely felt like I was missing a more rapid fire weapon. Especially when some of the more dangerous animals showed up. Like the Therizinosaurus, it takes so many rounds to knock one down. I was desperately begging for a weapon with more punch to deal with them. Because even the grenade launcher took a couple. I was like, wow, okay. These Therazinos be beefy. I did quite like the fact that there's, you know, no health bar or anything like that. You have to figure out for yourself how injured you are based on how she's moving. Although, I think the only downside I would have with that is that sometimes I felt like I was injured, but I wasn't. And there were other times where I'm like, am I injured? Because I seem to be dying quite quickly, but apparently I'm fine. So I don't know whether they could have made it clearer that she was injured. Maybe by putting, I don't know, having some changes to the character model. I do praise the, the whole, you've got to stop yourself bleeding thing that they do. I thought that was really unique gimmick. Although, I guess that is probably not a good sign if I'm calling it a gimmick. So, yeah, I don't know. Is a gimmick... If I call something a gimmick, does that mean it's bad? Not necessarily, but certainly worth thinking about. Also, I don't agree with that. The critical review that said that the places felt too familiar, like they looked too similar. I felt like I was able to get my bearings pretty easily and learn the map pretty easily based on how stuff looked. And there was there was a clear difference between the sort of office bit upstairs and the laboratory bit downstairs. I feel like there was a decent enough difference between the two that you can, after a while, kind of get your bearings. If anything, I would say that the game's in-game map is the worst element. Like, that map is absolutely useless. Oh, you're in this room. It's like, yes, but I don't know what my orientation is in that room. Like, you kind of have to guess. I don't know how they could have solved that situation. Maybe just, like, having... I don't know... an indication on the map about... like, where the camera was positioned. Like, if you had an indicator that told you where the camera was positioned in each area, that might help figure out, like, where you were. But again, perhaps that's part of the, the old charm of the game, that you don't just have a map that tells you where to go every 5 seconds. Maybe that's one of those things. What else? I mean, I certainly think it's worth the money. Like, if you've never played Dino Crisis before, like, or if you've never played a game of that genre, of that, you know, um, era of gaming before, I would definitely suggest get it and play it just for the experience. I guess if there's one like other big criticism I would have, it's Regina as a character. Like, I get that she doesn't feel like a particularly good female protagonist. If I was going to bring some modern day politics into it, and I apologize for doing so. She feels a bit kind of, you know, everything that happens to her. I guess you do have the the times where you can make a choice about whose plan you go along with. But there were quite a lot of other times in the game where I felt like just stuff was always going wrong for her. Like those instances where, the other characters would like run off out the room after the end of a cutscene, leaving you behind, and then you would go out the same door and like, oh, there's like a dozen dinosaurs in the hallway. It's like, oh, okay, so how did my co-character get out of here? I guess I'm kind of critical of that bullshit just because it definitely feels a bit bullshit. But yeah, I don't think she's a very good female protagonist. Stuff just happens to her. She has very little major impetus on the story. Like, she definitely has some, I'll grant it that, but I think they could have done a better job with her. But again, I kind of see that as a failure of the time period, just being that female protagonists in video games just weren't particularly well done at this point in time. That was just an inconvenient fact of the time period, Female protagonists were very much in either the Lara Croft school of being sexualized in a way that could be defended, or were still the things you were protecting or going off to save. Why does all of a sudden this not fit correctly? Ah, it's because the columns are slightly thinner. I am glad though that at no point like Regina felt the need to say that she was a woman, or that there at no point was there a moment where the game decided to be like, oh, we have to have a conversation between our male and female characters about the fact that one of the characters is a woman. There was no comment about her being a woman in the military or anything like that. That is one thing I will praise the game for. And I definitely think it's one thing that newer gaming needs to embrace, is this sort of, you don't have to just tell the audience that you don't need this scene of a female character having to talk about the fact that she's a female character in the army or anything like that. Just present the character being in the army doing a professional job. That's sufficient for if you want to talk about identity politics. I don't like calling it identity politics, because to me it's just, we have a female protagonist in our video game, who the fuck cares? But if you want to make sure that you're presenting your female protagonist accurately or in a good way, just do it like that, No need to mess about with it. Hello, Basti. Yeah, they didn't treat her as a novelty, which is probably a really good way of putting it, actually. They just treated her as any other, person who happened to be part of the military. Like, there was no need for any of the rest of it. And I appreciate that. I mean, also at no point was there any, moment where it felt that the female protagonist was putting down the male protagonist in an effort to try to make the female protagonist look superior. I didn't feel that had happened at any point. They all were competent. The male characters were all competent. The female characters were all competent. And that is how it should be. Yes, I literally didn't realize I only had about 15 minutes of the game to go. So we got through it a little quicker than I anticipated. So what we're doing now is we're just having kind of an open discussion about stuff I liked, the stuff I didn't like, what it shows about gaming and stuff like that. that is what we are doing at the moment. Ship, I missed it. Well, all the Dino Crisis streams will be saved, and you know, and they're not going to be taken down. So if anyone wants to like go back and watch a complete run through, they can, as it were. It is funny to think that there's a lot about Dino Crisis in terms of its story, which does kind of remind a lot of what of how Jurassic has gone, especially with the dinosaurs as weapons subplot. I do feel that was kind of the bit they weren't saying aloud. Like, I think it was pretty clear that everyone, you know, we wanted the third energy device, not because the energy was important as the weapon, but it was the dinosaurs that were going to be the weapon. I feel like that was the bit the game wasn't saying aloud, perhaps because they understood how stupid saying that aloud was. So I almost praise it in that regard. Hi, I'm the bad guy. We should weaponize the raptors. Yeah. I'm kind of glad that no one in the entirety of Dino Crisis ever said that out loud, because and I kind of hope that at some point in Capcom, when they were making this, they realized saying that out loud would be such a preposterous thing to say that it didn't need to be said. And I love the fact that obviously modern Jurassic has run with that idea. It's like Capcom didn't think they needed to say out loud the stupidity of that idea. But obviously someone at someone at Universal were like, that's a great idea. Like the people at Capcom were like, No, it's literally the opposite of a good idea. It's a terrible idea. So the trim is in place. All of this I'm going to get rid of now because we can change this. I actually also don't think that this style of tile flooring says Jurassic World, so I think I might change the floor tiles. Brick is a bit too European. Maybe have this style. I feel like this style would work really good, but what are we meant to do about the corners? It does kind of bug me that like both of the big dinosaur documentaries this year, I'm probably not going to be able to like genuinely watch because they're either on streaming services or they're on a service that I actually can't get in my country, and that really does bug me. I feel like streaming and TV going the way of streaming services primarily has just been really, really bad for us as consumers. Because now we end up with like 20 million flipping accounts on various different websites we have to keep track of, and it's awful. I really hate modern streaming. Hello, Rob. Haven't seen you in a stream for a while, and we're making a Jurassic World version of my Jurassic Park version of this villa building, which, if I go to here and go add image and find the image. These buildings have both been based on this, which was a building I saw someone put on his Sim 4. Like, he's a guy that builds a load of buildings in the Sims 4 game. And I'm like, those could be really easily adapted for a Jurassic World Evolution build. So, yeah, I did a I did a build in, like, if I just, oops, I go there. Like, you can see how obviously the positioning, the build like idea of these that I've adapted to make this work. But obviously I built that one in the Jurassic Park style, and now these ones I'm building in the Jurassic World style. These ones, though, you can see they have a bit closer resemblance to the Sims version, with like the flat roofs and the wooden trim around the edges of the roofs. I'm also going to make the wooden flooring lighter in color, so it's closer to that picture. And I think I might make the stairs white as well, just to match the rest of the surrounding trim. But that is what I'm basing it off. But yeah, we're doing this while discussing Dino Crisis. Since this stream I was supposed to finish it, but I didn't realize I only had 15 minutes of the game to go. So that's what I'm doing at the present time. We are discussing my thoughts on Dino Crisis while doing this. What is... Oh. What if the Jurassic Park 3 raptors were replaced with Utahraptor? What, in... Do you mean, like, literally in Jurassic Park 3? Have Utahraptors instead of the conventional Velociraptors? I mean, I don't think it would change the story very much. I think what you would end up with is just another animal for Alan Grant to say they weren't on InGen's list either. Although that might be kind of funny. I think we need to come up with some new railings. Utahraptors with JP3 colors. Well, again, I don't really think it would be a huge difference. Not unless you made them, like, fully feathered and... actually went all in on depicting the raptors as realistically as possible. But I'm not sure audiences would have accepted that back in 2003. It looks so weird in white. What colours do Jurassic World stuff tend to go with for its... Yeah, they do like their blue, don't they? So yeah, I think that blue we'll make the Jurassic, you know, the Jurassic Park ones have the really light blue. We'll make the Jurassic World ones have more of a dark blue. I think that works. I am going to delete these 2 bits though. And we'll again give some new ones for the Jurassic World pool. Turquoise would be kind of nice. That's like that. It's more of a mint green than a turquoise. Bit more blue. Something like that. Actually, I actually agree with you there. I think that looks good. Let's change the color of that pool just to make sure I don't have to mess around finding the color again. So railings. So for the Jurassic Park, I went with this quite wooden style, but here I feel like we need something different. What are they using? See, they use standard gantry fencing. Yeah, this is all gantry fencing here. Gantry fencing. Yeah. Also, look at that. Frontier. Okay. We got some like recolorable metal. Where's that Jurassic World sign? Oh, of course, the signpost. The signpost isn't you can't change the color of the signpost, so I can't get the exact blue that they've used. We'll go with that. Seems a bit too bright. I think these need to be darker. Would you like if Frontier adds baby hybrids? I mean, I believe I've already said that they should. I believe I said that within a couple of weeks of the game coming out. I think we should have baby hybrids. I see no reason not to. Like, I honestly think it's really stupid of them not to have already had them. From a simple gameplay perspective, there's no reason not to have them. They're all a bit too thick though. Maybe they're right with going with the gantry fencing. Maybe they're right. Hang on a minute. That's double coloured there. Gantry 2 railing. What's this then? Gantry 1 railing. Oh, they've used the wooden railings. Ah. I definitely want a bit of colour here. How tall is that? Ah, just under that tall. That'll do then. How would mutadons work? I know that it's going to disappoint people, but I suspect that the mutadons are just going to be land-dwelling animals, that they're not going to have any sort of flying capability. I think the best we'll get for flight is we'll get like a unique animation for like hunting where they'll use their wings or something like that. Maybe a unique social with their wings, but I suspect that the rest of the animal will be based on a pre-existent rig. Probably the Utahraptor rig. I don't see them being an aviary animal. Just because the amount of work that would be required to make that look decent It's just not worth it. Like they are so like top heavy and lumbering. I just can't imagine that they would want to spend so much time trying to get them to work in the aviary. Because like they wouldn't just have to be flying in the aviary. They would also have to be capable of like quite a lot of walking about in the aviary. And if you look in the film, like, what do they do most of the time in the movie? They walk. There's not very much running about, so... yeah, I think they will predominantly be stuck to the ground, probably using the Utahraptor rig. And the fanboys will cry and bitch, but that's what fanboys do. They cry and they bitch. Because none of them have any idea how, like, difficult video game development really is. None of them have any idea how coding works, or rigging, or animation works, so... you know. They'll whine and complain. I'm more curious about how they're going to try to get Rebirth's, let's be fair, frankly rotten story to work in the confines of like what they've currently set up. Because I don't see how it can work. Like, Din wouldn't deliberately make the mutants. So the mutants would have to be either there already or accidental. And how are you going to get that to work inside the storyline? I don't know. On that one. Although I'll tell you one thing I think would be quite controversial to say, and at some point I want to do a video on it, but I know I'll probably get so much hatred in the comment section. I am so sick of Jurassic World Evolution games just using Jurassic World products, like the canon stuff, to make their DLCs from. I'm bored of it. I'm tired of the film. I'm tired of book content. I'm tired of film content. Like, you can tell me, Frontier, that you've made all these wonderful, you know, you made this wonderful Hypsilophodon or whatever it was, because it's in the novel, and it was quite heavily stated by Evo that they pushed the fact that it's a novel species. I don't care. Just because it's in the novel doesn't mean it has to be included. Just because it's in the movie doesn't mean it has to be included. I wish we could move away from that being the defining reason why an animal gets put into the game. I want to see DLCs with actually some interesting, like, features to them, which you're not going to get by making content based off the film, because the film's content isn't interesting. Like, for the past God knows how many years. How many years has it been now? Nearly 10 years since they brought the franchise back. And it's been stagnant. I want to see some new ideas. And we're only going to get new ideas by looking beyond what is the canon of the series. So that's what I would rather they do. I have just discovered a potential flaw with this idea of mine. I mean, the films have been on a downward trend, so I think I could quite easily see the sequel to Rebirth making less money easily. Then again, I'm not really sure that Universal wants the films to make money. I know that sounds like a really weird thing to say. Or rather, I'm not necessarily convinced that the films are the big money maker for Universal. I feel like for them, they must make more money from all the merchandise. Like, they've got to make so much more money from the merch than they do from the movie. Like, I'm sure the movie makes them a good, stack of cash. But I would hedge my bets in in saying that I suspect it is the merchandise that is Universal's biggest seller when it comes to Jurassic. And I think in that situation, you don't necessarily need a good, profitable film. You just have to keep churning stuff out that's going to keep selling merchandise. That's my theory, anyway. Like, you don't need profitable movies to sell merchandise. You just need to remind people the franchise exists. Okay, I'm gonna have to think about how to make the downward part of this. Because I'm not sure how to do it. I might have to manually put in like cable. Might be too long. Toys sell pretty well. Yeah, but I'm not even talking just about toys. I'm just talking about, like, general merchandise. Like, the stuff the adults buy. Like, I would assume they're going to make quite a bit of money off of that Lego set. Because I can guarantee that they probably have got, like, some sort of merchandising rights with Lego. I would assume that Lego are giving them a portion of their sales. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, so what do I do with the top? How do I put the top bar on? Unless I don't bother with the top bar. Just do like... Oh, actually, that's not too... It's not too bad. I can live with that. The Hammond collection Mutadon doesn't even have the right colors. Is that true? That's embarrassing, isn't it? That's really embarrassing. That being said, I don't blame them for not having the right colors. I mean, it's not like we got to see much of the bloody Mutadons in the film to judge what their colors were, did we? Here's our wonderful new predatory dinosaur. You'll never see it in the film, but here it is anyway. I don't know, man. That Rebirth was bad. I legitimately think it was a bad film. I think if you think it was a good film, I think you're wrong. I would never usually say that, but I think people who think it's a good film, you're wrong. It's awful. Rebirth is like everything bad with Jurassic. Kind of boiled down and distilled. Like all the worst elements of what Jurassic has become lately. Can basically be seen in that movie, I think. I really do think the next film is going to have those bloody human hybrid dinosaurs. And that will be officially when the franchise is dead, in my opinion, when we get No, I'll tell you what it is. The first time a dinosaur talks in English, the franchise is dead. The minute that happens, it's doomed. And I can see it coming. I can see the day coming where a raptor talks in human to another human. I can see it happening. Anyway, we have now got to 11. Thank you everyone for coming and keeping me company on this unusual stream that didn't quite go the way I wanted it to. I'll be back on Sunday with Jurassic World Evolution 3. We'll be doing something. It won't be modular building. Maybe we'll carry on with Sandbox Park or something. Or the Din Park, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to think about how I feel. But yeah, that'll be Sunday. So I will see you all then. Thank you for tuning in tonight. And until next time, stay safe and good night.